What is up, everybody? Morning. Today we are on a new body of water, and I thought, you know what, this would be a great time to walk through a tutorial how to find crappie on a new body of water, one you've never fished before. So I'm going to walk through how I'm going to find these fish and what I'm looking for. But I did some homework. I'm sorry for the wind. It's going to be a little windier out there today, so hopefully the audio is decent. I'm going to have to tuck in some bays when I do the talking of what I'm actually looking at. I did some homework on some maps, and obviously you go on some fishing boards, find some spots on lakes that you've never fished before. So here's the lake. Let's get out there, catch some fish. Okay, so we're on the new body of water right now. And the first thing I kind of want to walk through is something I talked about during the how to find spawning crappie video, and that's the percentage triangle. And the more I kind of utilize this when I go on new bodies of water, the more I really like it. So on this specific body of water, the bay, I'm in a bay right now. This is the boat launch bay. Most of it's about 5 feet of water, which is perfect for spawning crappie. There's a mixture of gravel and cabbage in here. And if you're not familiar with the navionics, or navionics, I don't know how to pronounce it, but I think it's navionics. If you're not familiar with their map, it's a free web app. You just go online, type in navionics.com. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but it's a great way to find depth maps for pretty much all the lakes. Any big body of water, they have a depth map for. So, after going on that site, or just looking up on your GPS if you have a GPS system, the thing I'm looking for right now, these crappie are in post-spawn mode. We had a big rain front. We had a bunch of rain come through last week, so water temps are in the mid-60s right now. In the next week or two, they'll move to their mid-summer depths of 15 to 20 feet next to cover. If there's brush piles, deep weeds, stuff like that. But for right now, they're transitioning from their spawning beds to that deep cover. So here's what I'm going to look for on the map. I'm looking for spawning base. This is the base of the triangle, okay? This is the point of the triangle, or this is the base of the triangle. These are where you're going to find the bedding crappie in the springtime when they're spawning. I walked through this on a different video. The reason that bay was a good area for finding crappie was the bedded crappie are going to be in that less than 5 feet of water. There's a mixture of gravel and cabbage, but most importantly, as the bay goes out, there's two sides of it. There's the shallower, how do I want to put this? There's the more gradual drop off, which would have been on the south side of this bay, and then on the north side of the bay was a sharp drop off. Now, if you draw the percentage triangle on both sides of these things, these crappie are probably going to be in the heart of that percentage triangle. Some of them might be towards the base. It's early June right now, so they're still decent. They're still probably somewhat shallow, 6 to 8 feet of water. You'll find some, but most of them are going to be in that 10 to 12 foot range. As the summer goes on, I'm going to be finding them closer out towards the point. They might not be all the way out to the point of this percentage triangle, because that is actually where I'm going to find them in the fall and most likely in the winter during ice fishing season. They're going to suspend out deep and push off into deeper basins from the point or that tip of the percentage triangle. So right now, finding them on this body of water, I'm going to look for bays that have a large spawning ground. So that's going to be 5 foot or less, and there's going to be a lot of room of there's going to be a lot of lake bottom that is 5 foot or less. Good mixture of gravel and cabbage. And then I'm going to go out from where I find these bays and look for steeper drop-offs. Look for steeper drop-offs, and the reason I want to find steeper drop-offs is because these crappie are both predator and prey. So the crappie, if they are pressured by bass, northern pike, some other predator fish, they'll push off into deeper water and they'll suspend. That's what crappie are known to do. They're suspending fish. So if they're not pressured, they'll be on the weed line. So right now I'm going to be looking for them anywhere between 6 to 12 feet of water. I'm going to look for deeper weeds, and I'm going to start there. If I can't find them there, then they might, depending on if they're pressured or not, they might push out into deeper water, into that 12, 15 foot of water, and suspend up the water column. Anywhere between, I mean, they could be 3-4 feet below the surface. They could be 2 feet above the bottom. I don't know where they're going to be. But I'm just trying to give you a starting point because this is where I'm going to start. I'm going to find the deeper drop off. They could be on the shallower drop off. They could be on the more gradual side if there's deeper weeds. But the first place I'm going to look is deeper drop off because one, it provides safety for these crappie when they're pressured, and it's close to their spawning grounds. All right, so ouch, that hurt. To start off finding crappie on a new body of water, boat launch is right behind me. It's about 200 yards behind me here. I'm still in that first little bay, or that point section, first little bay, and I'm on the north side of that, the outlet of that bay, because right now, I'm right over the top of about 12 feet of water, I believe. There's cabbage, there's a steep drop off, and the spawning bay. The most interesting part of this little section is there's a point right out here. Am I recording on this? Yes, I am. There's a point right here, and that's the steepest part of this drop off. It goes from about 3 feet to about 15, fairly quickly. Probably less than 10 yards of water. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start deeper and I'm gonna work my way in shallow because I don't know where these fish exactly will be. Oh, I probably should show you what I'm using. Pretty much all spring, the blackened chartreuse was just on fire. So I'm gonna stick with that. I've never fished this lake before and water's pretty clear, so I probably could get away with like a white or a hot pink, something red maybe, but I'm gonna stick to blackened chartreuse. It's just been working for me. So I'm just gonna cast this shoreline. It's the steepest drop off. It goes from about 5 feet to 12, and I think it gets to about 17 feet, a little further out in the middle of the bay here. And these crappie, whoops, let's try that again. It's a swing and a miss. These crappie are gonna be transitioning from their spawning beds in less than 5 feet of water out to the deeper section of this bay. And right now we should be in the transition point. That's where I want to be, right in the fat part of that triangle. It's not at the base, but pretty close to the middle of it. This is a 1/16 ounce jig head, by the way, so I'm gonna let it drop. I'm probably gonna let it count down to about 2 seconds, and that should get me, I don't know, 5 to 8 feet of water, somewhere in there. I'm gonna slowly pull it, and I can feel the weeds. It's bouncing on the weeds. Just gonna slowly pull it along the weeds. And worst case scenario, if you don't want to cast, you can just set up by trolling a bunch of jigs, troll around to different shorelines. That'd probably be the most efficient way to find fish. But I like casting, so plus we got time. It's early in the day yet. If you're going out on a new lake and you only got 2 hours or so, then I would highly suggest trolling until you find them. And then you can kind of pinpoint them and start casting or vertically jigging them. There's a fish. There we go. There's a crappie. About time. I knew they were in here. Well, there's our first one. Came in about 12 feet of water. Oops. Not very big. Hey, easy. I know this is flopping crappie's boat, but you don't gotta be flopping all over the boat. It's about a 9.5. I'm gonna guess 9.5. Oh, right on the money. 9.5 inch fish. He's a little guy. We're gonna let him go. But that is where they are right now. Post-spawn transition. 12 feet of water, right on the weed edge. And then once they get into these, this midsummer, they're gonna go out a little deeper. During the early morning and the late evenings, they'll push into this 10, 12 feet of water right on this weed line here, or weed lines on any body of water to feed. That's their main part of the feeding, but, oh, I thought that was another one. But during the daytime in the summer, they'll push out into deeper water, that 15, 20 feet of water. So that's something to note if you're looking for them in the midsummer. They're gonna be a little deeper. It's all right, just take your time. I think that was my 10th or 12th cast, 10, 11, 12, something like that. So just be patient. And I'm just pulling it right across the top of the weeds. I want to be able to feel the weed tops as that jig is going across. There's a fish. That's a bass. See, we're gonna find a mixture of fish in here. Oh, he let it go. He let it go, but that was a bass. We're gonna find a mixture of fish in here because the entire food chain's here. It's good to note though, if we do catch a bunch of bass, the crappie are not gonna be in the mix because they are, no matter how big or small the bass are, they're gonna push these crappie out. Crappie don't like to be next to their predators. Well, once I get on them consistently here, I'm going to set the boat up so I just cast along that same break line. So if I keep catching them in 12 feet of water, I'm going to set up on 12 feet of water and just cast straight out the bow so I keep bringing this jig down that 12 foot of water line. It's not really like, well, I guess bass fishermen do it too, but a lot of guys cast into shore and then bring it out. But once you find them, or once I find them on this new body of water here, I'm just going to keep working the contour of where I find them. There's one. That might be a bass. I don't know what it is. Oh, it's a rock bass. Okay. Baby rock bass, get off my boat. There's a fish. There we go. That feels like a crappie too. It's not running like a bass because it's a baby crappie. Not the right school. Right species, not the right school. Use a little shallower. That first one I caught was a little deeper, so maybe the bigger crappie are out deep. Good thing to note. There's a fish. That's a little, what is that? The hybrid sunfish. Getting a bunch of different species here. All right, last part of this how to find crappie on a new lake. I realize I've only caught 2 crappie, but there's a bunch of fish in the system. But these are the main points these are the main sections of lake that I'm going to be focusing on. I'm going to start in the spawning bays. I'm going to work my way out to the points, and depending on the time of season, in the spring, they're obviously going to be in the fat part of that triangle. In the post-spawn season right now, they're going to be transitioning to the middle part of the triangle. They're going to be closer to the fat part of that triangle, that base of the triangle. Transitioning to the middle of it, and then in the summer they'll probably be in the middle of it towards the point, and as the fall and the winter months come in, they're going to be going out towards the point or suspending off the tip of the triangle into basins or into deeper water basins. So one more crappie and that's going to wrap this up, and we'll hop into the outro. There's a fish. There we go. About time. Feels like a crappie too. Hopefully. This is like a decent one. Oh, it is a decent one too. Yes! Good one to end it on here. Good one to end it on. He choked that. Holy smokes, did he choke that? Look at that. Let me get my thumb out of the picture there. He absolutely choked that jig. Let's get that jig out of there and let's get him measured. Barely hooked though. There we go, that's a solid one to end it on. Nice 11-inch crappie right there. There's probably some more down there, but this rain cloud is, yeah, it's not looking too good. So that is going to end it for me. Hopefully you can use some of what I taught you here. Hopefully you can use kind of the same process that I go through on new bodies of water to find these fish. That's a good sized crappie. That's a good eater right there. I'm gonna keep him. Now you notice as I'm moving across this lake, I'm isolating bodies of water. I'm isolating certain sections of this body of water. Okay, this is a fairly good sized lake. It's about 4 or 5 miles long. The widest point is about 1.5 miles wide. So there's definitely a lot of water to cover. So you really want to isolate different sections. These fish are probably only going to be in that 10 to 15% of the water. So you breaking this down by using the percentage triangle, looking for the spawning grounds. This is going to give you the highest percentage chance of not only finding crappie, but bass, northern pike. They're all going to be in the same area because they're all part of the food chain. Now, I didn't quite touch on what I do beforehand. I talked a little bit about the Navionics web app, but the other app I use, or it's not really an app, Google Earth. This is a very, very clear lake, mostly again due to zebra mussels. There's a lot of lakes in Wisconsin that have zebra mussels. It filters out the water, makes the clarity very, very clear. And so Google Earth, you'd be able to see weed lines, you'll be able to see submerged brush, trees, maybe a rock pile or two, sandbars that come out. Using Google Earth definitely can help you before you even hit the water, help you isolate which parts of that lake or river system that you're going to focus on spending your time trying to find fish. All right, just to recap. First, you're going to do your homework. You're going to find parts of that body of water that you can isolate, that these crappie are going to be spawning on, and then move out from there, because these crappie will transition throughout the seasons from their spawning ground, post-spawn. There'll be that 6 to 12 feet of water, depending on how deep your lake is. And then midsummer, they're going to be that 15 to 20 feet of water near cover. In the fall, they might suspend out. Fall and winter, they'll suspend out deep. Off points or off the tip of that percentage triangle, so look for deeper water basins, but obviously don't pass up any cover. If you see trees or submerged bridges, roads, if there's brush, if there's rocks, there's deep weed lines, if there's anything like that, don't pass it up. Always look at those things. That's going to wrap it up for this video. Hopefully you can use these tips to find crappie on a new body of water, or bass, or northern pike. I mean, this percentage triangle has really been working out for me this year. I encourage you to start using it. Again, it's not my philosophy. It's a guy by the name of Seth Burrell out in Spokane, Washington. It was his philosophy he came up with, and it's really nothing new. It's just a way of thinking. It's like a roadmap of how you kind of look at a lake or a body of water, how you attack it. So hopefully you can use this to put more fish in the boat. That's going to wrap it up. Be sure to like and share this video. And if you're not a subscriber, below the video there's a red subscribe button, and be sure to click that bell. That bell notifies you every time I post a video. If you don't want to click the red subscribe button, at the end of the video see my face holding a crappie. You can click on that as well to subscribe. All right, we'll see ya.